Hello, my name is Joe, and in this video, we're going to be setting up a basic network and using OSPF as our main routing protocol. Now, before we start, I'm going to share with you a snippet of what we're going to be building out. And for me, I like having like a good brief overview of what we're going to do. It just helps me, I find, digest information. So for you, if you want, feel free, take a screenshot as we'll be using most of this information to build out this network with using OSPF as the routing protocol. So I'm going to set this aside and we're just going to start diving into this. So we're going to need 4 routers, just 2911s. I'll label this for R1, R2, R3, R4. We're going to get 4 connections, so we'll go G00, G00. Okay, we need to get a switch, just a 2960. We'll get a PC, and we'll also get a server. We'll go back to the connections, and we'll go G02, should be G02 to the switch, and then from switch to PC. Okay. Now, before I start just plugging in the command line interface and start typing in commands, I like to get my thoughts and just my thoughts and my bearings organized, just so that I don't misconfig the interface with the wrong IP, and then later down the road figuring out like what's going wrong. I've had that happen to me. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna map everything out, and this might seem like overkill, but it's gonna make our life a lot easier, as you will see. So for the routers, we're going to use a /30 subnet mask, just basically point to point. And if you're not too sure or understand how I know what IPs are for what, don't worry, I'll break that down here very shortly. I'm just going to get this information typed out here. So 192.168.1.5 /30 G0/1 192.168.1.6/30. This should be a G0/1, and then we'll go back here. G0/0 9/30 G0/0/30 G0/2 192.168.2.1/24. This will be 192.168.2.10/24. G0/1 192.168.1.13/30. G0/1 192.168.1.14/30. G0/2 192.168.3.1/24. Server IP is going to be 192.168.3.10/24. So I'm just going to get this organized. Put this here, put this here. Okay, we're going to go up here. We're going to go options, preferences, remove this. G02. Okay. So now you might be thinking, how I knew what IPs to assign what. I'm just going to load up this cheat sheet here to help break down or help explain this. As you can see here, this is just a subnet mask cheat sheet, and we are using a /30. That means we have 4 addresses and we have 2 available hosts. And to make that make more sense, I'm going to drag this image over. And this kind of breaks down, or this will break down how we're going to assign all these IP addresses. So the network address, that's going to be for the OSPF command. There's going to be more on that later, but that's going to help the routers know where to send and receive the OSPF messages. So we're going to be using the network address for that. But for the usable addresses, you're going to notice 1 and 2, 1, 2. 5 and 6, 5, 6, 9, 10, 9, 10, 13, 14, 13, 14. So that's how I know how to map out the router IP interfaces. So I'm going to drag that there. And since we know what our IPs are now, we're going to get right into configuring these routers. So let's get into it. R1 int g0/0 IP address 192.168.1.1/30. Oh, and you might be wondering how I know it's .252. If I go back to the cheat sheet, as you can see here, 255.255.255.252. That's how I know. So I'll bring this back over here, and yeah, we'll just carry on. So we'll go no shut. Go exit int g0/1 IP address 192.168.1.14. No shut. Exit int g0/2 IP address 192.168.3.1 255.255.2. I can't type. No shut. Okay, router 1 done. Router 2 now. Conf host name r2 int g0/0 IP address 192.168.1.2. No shut. Exit int g0/1 192.168.1.5 255.255. Yep, that's done. Router 2 done. Router 3 now. Oh no. conf host name r3. Then we'll go int g0/1 IP 192.168.1.6 255. Yep, that's done. Exit g0/2 int IP address 192.168.2.1 //24. No shut. Exit int g0/0 IP 168.1.9. That's done. Sweet. Router 3 is now done. Time to move on to router 4. Last one. Then we'll do int g0/0 IP. Oh. Okay. That's done. Exit int g. Alright, last one. Okay, now we'll set the IP address for the server. .3.10. Oh, what did I do here? 192.168.3.10. 192.168.3.1. PC now. 192.168.2.10. 168.2.1. Okay, so before we start diving into the OSPF configuration, we need to figure out what we're going to be assigning the network IP for the OSPF. There's a network command. I'll dive into it a little bit later on once we start typing out the command, but we need to know what these IPs are for this command, as it's going to help the routers know where it should be sending and receiving OSPF messages. These messages could be like link state updates or link state advertisements. Pretty important stuff. So what we're going to do is I'll slide this here. I'll bust out this, and we'll start figuring out what address we're going to type out. So if I bust out that document again, I'm just looking for it here. we know that, the 0, the network address, this is what we're going to use for the router. So we're going to use 0, 4, 8, and 12. So since we know that, we're going to start configuring it or labeling it. So this is the exact command where we're going to be typing in the interface. So 0.0.0.3, area 1, network 192.168.1.4, 0.0.0.3, area 1, network 192.168.1.8, 0.0.0.3, area 1, network 192.168.1.12, 0.0.0.3, area 1, network 192.168.2.0, 0.0.0.255, area 1, network 192.168.3.0, 0.0.0.255, area 1. Now, you might be thinking how I got the 0.0.0.3. That's because OSPF, it uses a inverted wildcard subnet mask. And if we look at this sheet again, right, if you just take 255 minus 252, it'll equal to 3. So that's how I got the 3 for these network addresses. So before we start though, I'm just going to fill this color just to make it more easily visible, as we have a lot of IP addresses. Oh, well, here, there, because these are the IP addresses we need to enter. So we'll go like that. We'll close this, slide this here. All right, and yeah, let's get into it. So click on router 1. We'll go en conf t router OSPF 1 router ID. We'll keep it simple. Then we'll go network. Slide this here. Click on here. 192.168.1.0, 0.0.0.3, area 1. Network 192.168.1.12, 0.0.0.3, area 1. Network 192.168.3.0, 0.0.0.255, area 1. Perfect. Oh, and we should probably set, so I won't go into too much detail on how OSPF works. I'll give you the brief description, but what I'm going to do after this video is I'm going to refer you to another YouTube channel called Jeremy's IT Lab, where he has a video where he breaks down OSPF. I could break it down, but I wouldn't do as good of a job as him, and it would take me way too long as it's a very in-depth topic. But essentially, what's going to happen is the moment we configure OSPF on a router, it's going to automatically flood out LSAs, link state advertisements, out all interfaces. And what's going to happen is once we get all these other routers on board, it's going to take that information and it's going to store those link state advertisements in a link state database. And this link state database is essentially going to have all the best routes to each destination in it. So yeah, it's that's essentially how it works. So now that I believe we have router 1 done. Oh yeah. Now remember how I said once you configure a router, it's going to flood out LSAs every, I don't know, it might be every 30 seconds. Well, we don't need any of the LSAs to go out this G0/2 interface because there's no router to learn that information, right? So to save resources, we're just going to type in G passive interfaces G0/2. Now no more LSAs are going to go out that interface. So now that we have G02 done, let's move on to router number 2. So let's see here. We're going to go in conf t router OSP1 router ID. Keep it simple. Network 192.168.1.0 3. Oh shit. Area 1. Then network 192.168.1.4 0.0.0.3 area 1. So we just added these 2 areas. On this router we added these 3 areas. So now for router 3, we're going to add 1, 2, and 3. So we'll conf t, and conf t, we're going to do router OSPF1, router ID, keep it simple. And we'll go network 192.168.1.4. Network 192.168.1.8, 0.0.0.3. Network 192.168.2.0. Alright, we'll just start this one over. Network 192.168.2.0. And we might as well make, again, this interface G0/2 a passive interface. Perfect. Now we don't need to configure the switch at all, just because switches are going to forward frames by default. So no need to touch the switch. Go to router 4. Here we go, router OSP1, router ID 4.4.4.4, network 192.168.1.8.0.0.0.3, area 1, network 192.168.1.12, 0.0.0.3, area 1. Perfect. We have OSPF now configured on the network. So if I go to here, it might not work at first attempt because everything needs to load still, but now it should work. Perfect. We have a working. Let's dive into router 1 and let's type in show IP protocols, and let's start looking at some of the commands that we entered in. So you can see the process ID that we entered in earlier when configuring the OSPF on router 1. We can see the router ID. These are the network commands that we entered on the router. Here is the passive interface on G02 so that it wouldn't flood out LSAs. And let's see, routing information. This is R1's neighbors, and this is the administrative distance. So this would be 2.2.2, this would be 3.3.3, this would be 4.4.4. So that's pretty much it for configuring OSPF. If you want, and you want to do some experimenting, what you can try doing is you can do a no shut on G01 interface. You could change the speeds between routers. And what that's going to do is that's going to change the path PC0 is going to take to get to the server. So either if you just say shut off this interface, it should go from R3 to R4 to R1, or vice versa. So what you can do is you have a template of this if you saved it, and you can just start testing out different things. But this will just give you a good idea of how to set up a network, how to configure OSPF, just so that you can get it operational. Now for the CCNA, you don't need to worry about setting up multi-area OSPF. You just need to be able to configure a single OSPF area. Now before I let you go, I want to share this one video with you. There is a YouTube channel called Jeremy's IT Lab, and this is where I learned about OSPF and how to configure it. Now he doesn't go exactly like how we did, where we build a network from scratch and then configure it. It's mostly diagrams, but you can kind of see how this is similar from the diagram that we created, right? So I suggest watching this video just to get the full picture idea. So if I missed anything, he will definitely help clear it up. So other than that, if you made it this far to the end of the video, give me a subscribe, give me a like. That would be greatly appreciated. Other than that, enjoy your day.